So I was asked to give a short presentation to a group of business owners on the key points in preparing a business for sale. So I went along the other morning, had a lovely breakfast with them, and this was the presentation I gave them. There we go. So why do we prepare a business for sale? Well, if you sell a car, you wash it, you clean it, you shine it, and you do the same with a business. So what you want is an improved outcome, a higher price, and obviously a shorter time on the market. So if you do these few things, that's what will happen, and you'll sell it for more. So what do we look at first? So this is basically the process I go through whenever a business rings me or whenever I start to look at a business. So we start by looking at the accounts, and we want straightforward and accurate financials. What we don't want is a mishmash of a whole lot of different entities chucked in the same financials and giving us a very confusing and non-straightforward answer. So you get your accountant or your business broker to recast those accounts, remove anything that shouldn't be in there. And a good example is I was looking at a guy the other day, and he had a reasonably good business, but he was spending $95,000 a year on motor vehicles. And I looked out the window and I saw a ute, and I thought, well, it's got to be something a bit different than that. I said, what's going on? He says, I run a race car on the weekend, and I put all the expenses through the business. So those are the sort of things that you don't have in your accounts, and we pull that out. Because what you've got to remember is when a buyer wants to buy the business, they go to the bank, and the bank says, let's have a look at the financials from the seller. So if those financials are looking a bit dodgy, the bank's not going to lend the money. So very important to talk to your accountant to get that right. And what buyers are looking for is future maintainable earnings. They want to know what's going to happen when they take over. So having those things simple and clear adds to their confidence. And if you've got lumpy sales, project-based or things that don't run steadily, that's going to interfere with your profitability, that's going to interfere with budgeting. So you need to clean that up and get it looking right. One of the biggest things I get is my business has got lots of potential, and a buyer will see that potential and he'll pay so much more because it's such a good business with potential. So that's bollocks. It's a technical business broker term, I use it a lot. What you'll find is, yes, they'll want to buy your business because it's got potential, but they're not going to pay for that potential. If you want that potential realised, do it yourself. If it's so simple as getting a new website and doing a bit of marketing, then maybe you should get a new website and do a bit of marketing. Then you've proven the concept and a buyer will look at it. So what are risk areas? And buyers always look at negatives. They like the positives, sure, but the negatives weigh heavily on buyers. So you have to address these risk areas earlier. Now, the most obvious one is owner or staff dependency. Now, if everything's sitting up here in one staff member or one owner, then that's a huge risk for a buyer. So you've got to document systems, you've got to document procedures. I mean, look at McDonald's. McDonald's is run by pimply-faced 16-year-olds who can barely speak English properly, even if they were born here. And they managed to do that with systems. They managed to do that with processes, and that's what the business must look like for you. So think about your business. Think about, can you go away for a week? Can you go away for a month? What happens if you just decided to go away on Monday for 4 weeks? Would you come back to a hole in the ground in what was a business, or would the business be functioning perfectly? Now, if it's functioning perfectly, then you have a good saleable business. So talk to your lawyer. Look at the contracts that you have with suppliers. I had a lady who started a business. She was a single mum. She was in her early 20s and she couldn't get a job. So she started this business. She went overseas. She contacted suppliers. She got this wonderful agency selling products into hairdressers. She built up a business that I valued at $1.5 million. She decided she wanted to exit it after 6 or 7 years, I think it was. And so she came to me and said, can I sell it? We looked at the contracts, we looked at the supply agreements, we looked at everything, and I said, yep, I found a buyer. The buyer said, great, let's get this supply agreement confirmed. So we talked to the suppliers in France, and the suppliers went, you've done a great job. We can't believe how well you've done. In fact, you've done such a great job that we're going to set up a business in New Zealand. Thanks very much. So her business went from $1.5 million to less than $1 overnight. And that was on the strength of her supplier agreement. So don't assume anything. There was a little clause in that agreement that says that they had approval, which is fine, and if they withheld approval, they could then take that supplier agreement over. So talk to your lawyers. It's really important to get those things nailed correctly. Same with the employees. Make sure you've got employment agreements. Make sure they're up to date. Make sure there's clauses in there about selling the business, technical restructuring, whatever you want to call it. Likewise with leases on buildings, are they transferable? Does the landlord know? What's going to happen? Is the rent going to go up? All those sorts of things. So those are the risk areas that buyers look at. And if anything kills a sale, those points are what kills a sale more than anything else that I do. What do we got? Non-performing assets or stock. This is another really good one. You go into a business and you have a look, and I'm poking around in the back and there's a dust sheet covering a machine, and what's this? Oh, that's I don't know what it is, but it's a machine that does something. How often do you use it? Oh, well, about 18 months ago, a guy asked me to what's the point of having that in there? Sell the thing, get rid of it, put the money in the pocket and move on. It's not contributing to the business. It doesn't need to be there, and it certainly won't contribute to the value of the business. Stock's the other issue. Lots of businesses. I was in a machine servicing business, and I went out into his back room, and he had boxes and boxes of stock, and I went, "Have you all this document?" He says, "Yep, I've got a list of everything I've got." And so we're poking through parts, and I pulled something out, and I said, "What's this for?" He said, "Oh, it's a 1976 something or other." I said, "Well, how many of those have you sold? You know, you've got a box of 5 there." He said, "I think we sold one about 5 years ago." Now, buyers aren't going to pay for that. They're going to want it, sure. So write it off. Take the tax relief. Talk to your accountant about writing the stock off, writing those things off, taking that immediate tax relief. It's not changing the value of the business. We're valuing the business on the profit it's generating, not how much, technical broker term, not how much shit you've got sitting in the back room. I don't really care about that. That's there because you want it there, not because it needs to be there. So non-performing assets and stock, get rid of those and have something current. I'm just selling a business at the moment, and he imports, polite term would be landfill from China. So when you go into a $2 shop and things like that, you find all these things for 20 bucks. This is the kind of stuff he imports. Now, he writes his stock off every 12 months. If it hasn't sold within the last 12 months, he writes it off. Now, that's a saleable business because everything is current. So that's how you have to think. So you need to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. You look at your business and go, "It's a great business, I've got one of these and I love this and everything else." But buyers don't care about that. They only care about how it's going to work for them going forward. So look at it from the outside in. Take a, if you like, a critical look at what you do. Get someone else to critique it. And if it passes muster, then you've got something saleable. All this and more. Get it now. We've just done a reprint. Can't believe it. Sold out the first print. We've just done a reprint. Everything I talk about is obviously sitting in there. Questions? So all of that and more is sitting in my new book, How to Sell Your Business, Maximum Value and Minimum Stress. It's 232 pages of the trade secrets, the insider tips and tricks, the stuff brokers use but, well, never want to tell you, if you like. So it's in its second printing now. Have you got your copy yet? Link in the description below. And that leads us on to the only 2 reasons a business won't sell. Yep, that's right. 20 years and $100 million worth of business sales later, I can tell you there are only 2 reasons why a business won't sell. What are those? Have a look at that video up there. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.